As the sunset faded over the kingdom of Cornwall, King Mark stood by the tall windows of his palace, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon, where the golden sea seemed to reflect his innermost thoughts. He still could not forget the image of the little bird with the golden hair, like a divine sign sent to him. King Mark could not stop thinking about the woman of such captivating beauty, the one he believed would be his perfect other half. But behind that desire was not just love or personal admiration, but also a strong belief. Marriage with that woman could bring peace to two kingdoms that had hated each other for centuries. Cornwall and Ireland had long been embroiled in bloody and hateful wars. The feud stemmed not only from territorial disputes, but also from constant revenge between the two sides. King Mark, despite the legacy of a strong warrior passed down from his ancestors, still wanted to break the cycle of conflict. He believed that a political marriage could appease the people and usher in a new era of peace. When he heard rumors about Princess Isolde of Ireland, who had hair as golden as the dawn and was praised everywhere for her beauty and rare intelligence, King Mark immediately came up with a bold plan. However, to prove his sincerity and to be worthy of the princess's love, King Mark knew that he needed to do something extraordinary. At that time, Ireland was threatened by a giant dragon that spread terror throughout the land. The monster had huge wings, a body covered in scales as hard as steel, and a breath of fire that could burn down an entire village in the blink of an eye. No one dared to face it, and the people of Ireland lived in fear every day. King Mark realized that this was the perfect opportunity to prove Cornwall's goodwill. If he could slay the dragon, he would not only save Ireland, but also be able to propose to Princess Isolde in a dignified manner. So the king summoned his nephew, the knight Tristan, who was known as Cornwall's bravest and most loyal warrior. Tristan was not only an excellent swordsman, but also a man of great kindness and determination. When he heard about the mission to slay the dragon, Tristan did not hesitate. He knew that this mission was not simply for the honor of King Mark or Cornwall, but also for the lasting peace between the two kingdoms. As Tristan's ship approached the coast of Ireland, the waves lapped against the ship's hull as if signaling the severity of the mission ahead. Tristan stood on the deck, his armor glistening in the sunlight, his deep blue eyes gazing into the distance, where the mountains appeared hazy like a mystical painting. He was not afraid, but his heart was weighed down by the great responsibility he was shouldering. In the land of Ireland, Tristan was quickly led to the place where the dragon often appeared. It was a desolate field where burnt bushes and scorched earth created a desolate scene. Tristan drew his sword, the steel flashed in the air. At that moment, the dragon's roar resounded, causing the earth to shake. From above, the monster swooped down like a storm of fire, its eyes glowing red as if wanting to burn everything. The battle was fiercer than anything Tristan had ever experienced. The dragon, with its terrible power, did not give him a moment's rest. Each flap of its wings created a fierce whirlwind, and its fiery breath burned everything in its path. But Tristan, with his great skill and courage, did not falter. He fought not only for himself, but also for the trust of King Mark and the hope of a peaceful future. Finally, after a long battle, Tristan put all his strength into a fatal blow, plunging his sword deep into the dragon's throat. The monster roared one last time before collapsing to the ground. Tristan, exhausted but determined, cut out the dragon's tongue as proof of his victory. However, the dragon's poison had seeped into the wound on his hand, causing his body to rapidly weaken. Tristan collapsed, in excruciating pain, thinking he would never return to Cornwall. At that moment, a retinue from the Irish palace appeared, led by Princess Isolde. She was not like what Tristan had imagined. Not only was she beautiful with her golden hair, she also exuded an air of intelligence and compassion. Isolde quickly realized Tristan's critical condition and ordered him to be brought back to the palace. With her excellent medical skills, she personally cared for Tristan, using rare herbs to detoxify and heal his wounds. During his days on the sickbed, Tristan could not help but be fascinated by Isolde's beauty and intelligence. But he always reminded himself that his duty was to bring her to Cornwall to be King Mark's wife, not to let his heart be shaken. As for Isolde, she also gradually fell in love with Tristan, who had dared to face the dragon to bring peace to her country. When Tristan recovered, he proposed to take Isolde to Cornwall to marry King Mark. Although somewhat hesitant, Isolde agreed, seeing it as her duty to end the feud between the two kingdoms. The gentle waves lapped against the hull, blending with the murmur of the sea breeze like a sad song on the journey back to Cornwall. Tristan and Isolde, now free from the dragon's threat, began to feel a strange silence falling between them. They kept their distance, both trying to suppress the feelings that were bubbling up inside them. Tristan, who had always been loyal to King Mark, tried not to get lost in Isolde's gentle eyes and soft voice. She, though filled with gratitude and admiration for Tristan, reminded herself that her destiny was to become Queen of Cornwall, the one who would bring peace to both kingdoms. However, fate has a cruel way of playing with people. One afternoon, as the golden sunlight shone on the sea, Isolde went down to the ship's hold to get some water. In the corner, she saw a small, delicate cup containing a clear liquid that glowed red like blood. It was the cup that her mother had secretly given to her servant, instructing him to only give it to her and King Mark on their wedding night. The liquid was a powerful love potion, concocted from rare herbs, with the purpose of ensuring that the love between her and King Mark would never fade, regardless of their differences in nationality or circumstances. Unaware of the cup's significance, Isolde picked it up to examine it. Just then, Tristan entered, smiling and greeting her. Seeing her holding the cup, he joked, "Your cup of wine smells so good. Perhaps I should have a taste to quench my thirst." She smiled, and in a carefree moment, they both shared the cup. The sweet liquid touched their lips, spreading through their bodies like a smoldering fire. At first, they didn't notice anything unusual, but soon their hearts began to beat intensely, a strange feeling filling their minds. Both Tristan and Isolde felt an invisible thread binding them together, a love so strong that it surpassed all reason and will. They looked at each other, unable to look away. Tristan felt Isolde's warm breath, and she felt her heart pounding as his blue eyes bored into her soul. No words were spoken, but in that moment, they both knew they were bound together forever. The following days on the ship were both beautiful and painful. Tristan and Isolde tried to keep their distance, but their hearts seemed to defy reason. They knew their love was wrong, that it would betray King Mark, whom they both respected. But the feeling was too strong to ignore. They could only endure it silently, trying not to reveal the feelings burning within them. By the time the ship reached Cornwall, the effects of the drug had faded, but their hearts were bound forever. They both knew they could not give up on their love, but they could not betray King Mark's trust either. They decided to keep it a secret and try to fulfill their duty. Isolde married King Mark in a lavish ceremony, but her eyes were always on Tristan. The knight, though standing on the sidelines, was still heartbroken. However, hidden feelings cannot be hidden forever. Rumors spread throughout the court, and King Mark, though he loved both Isolde and Tristan, began to suspect. When fresh blood appeared in Isolde's chamber after Tristan was wounded during a hunting trip, the king could no longer deny the truth. In a rage and heartache, he banished Tristan from the kingdom, forbidding him to return. Before leaving, Isolde gave Tristan her ring as a promise that their love would never be forgotten. Tristan left Cornwall and began a life of wandering across the islands. He fought in many battles, always seeking death as an escape from his heartache. Instead, he only became more famous, and the songs he composed about his tragic love were sung everywhere. In Brittany, another princess named Isolde of the White Hands heard the songs and thought they were for her. When she confronted Tristan, loneliness and fatigue drove him to propose to her. However, their marriage was not a happy one. Isolde of White Hands soon realized that her husband did not love her. Tristan, despite his efforts, could not erase the image of Isolde of Cornwall from his heart. One day, in a battle, he was seriously wounded by a poisoned spear. Tristan knew that only Isolde of Cornwall could save him. He sent someone with her ring to Cornwall, telling her that if she agreed to come to his rescue, she should raise a white sail. If she refused, she should raise a black sail. Meanwhile, Isolde of White Hands, in a fit of jealousy and grief, decided to take revenge. When she saw a white sail on the horizon, she lied and said it was a black sail. Hearing this, Tristan collapsed and breathed his last. When Isolde of Cornwall arrived, she found only the cold body of her lover. In her grief, she chose to die beside him. Their bodies were taken to Cornwall. King Mark, heartbroken, buried them side by side. Over time, a briar rose from Tristan's grave and reached into Isolde, as if to join the two hearts that had been separated. And though their story ended in tragedy, the love of Tristan and Isolde became legendary, a testament to the power and pain that love can bring.